So essentially, the Peaceful Streets Project was organized after the big fiasco with Antonio Buehler's arrest a couple New Year's ago, last New Year's. He was arrested while filming police officers that were harassing and assaulting a young woman. There was a traffic stop that took place on North Lamar Boulevard, or Lamar Boulevard downtown, and Buehler was there. He's the designated driver, wasn't drinking, taking a friend home, and he saw this Officer Patrick Oborski and Robert Snyder, assault a woman who was doing nothing more than shouting out advice to the woman who was driving the car, who was involved in a DWI stop, telling them you don't have to blow, don't give them any information against yourself. Well, Officer Oborski didn't like that, so he came over and started manhandling the woman. The police officers, especially in Austin, don't appreciate it when people challenge their authority, and apparently they don't like it for us to share our rights with one another. And so Antonio started filming. The woman started saying, film this, help me. So he did like I would hope any one of us in this room would do, and he started berating the officer and saying, stop harming that woman, you're hurting her, stop what you're doing. Well, again, the officer didn't like that and approached Antonio and started getting physical with Antonio, putting his arms on him and ultimately taking him down to the ground. Long story short, Officer Patrick Oborski falsely accused Antonio of spitting in his face, which carries a penalty of 2 to 10 years. It's a felony here in the state of Texas. And were it not for Antonio's background, were it not for him being an Army Ranger, being a Stanford graduate, and also perhaps were it not for the color of his skin, not being black or Latino, he was able to beat these charges. Unfortunately, there's different types of people, different groups are treated differently within the system. There's not equality in the least bit. But on top of that, something that's a great equalizer is the camera. And somebody was filming across the street, and they caught the whole incident on camera. And because of the camera, because of Antonio's background, and because of the community that rallied around him afterwards, he was able to beat those charges ultimately. A lot of momentum grew out of that arrest. People from all sorts of different communities here in Austin, the Liberty Movement, social justice activists, the Occupy movement got on board, police accountability activists. We all saw that there was a lot of momentum. We wanted to leverage the momentum into something bigger than just Antonio's individual case, so we started the Peaceful Streets Project. And since then, we've been doing Know Your Rights trainings in underserved, marginalized communities. We've done police abuse complaint departments where we offer an outlet for victims of police abuse to share their story, to demonstrate that this is not just a random occurrence. This is actually the rule. Unfortunately, more often than not, people are abused by arbitrary police abuse. We held our summit last year in which we gave out 100 video cameras to those who couldn't afford video cameras so they could film the police, so they could keep themselves safe, so they can keep their neighbors safe. And really what we're trying to do is change the culture here. The Peaceful Streets Project is non-political, and I'm going to talk about the dichotomy between political activism or in-the-system style activism and direct action tactics, which we've chosen to adopt with the Peaceful Streets Project. We're trying to change culture. We're not trying to change laws or get new people elected. We're trying to change the way people interact with law enforcement. We're trying to change the way that people understand their rights and get everybody to understand that fundamentally we own ourselves, and it's absolutely wrong for anyone, no matter what kind of suit, no matter what kind of shiny badges they have on their shirt, it's absolutely wrong for people to be forced to do things against their will. And whenever this idea is, thank you. Whenever that idea is institutionalized like it is within the current system that we have, then we see corruption, tyranny, oppression like no other, and unfortunately that's the status quo in Austin. So a lot of solutions are offered up when police abuse occurs. And, I was at a community meeting 2 nights ago. It was a meeting on the East Side put on by the East Side Coalition. The purpose was to offer solutions and to bring together the police department. Chief Acevedo was there to bring together community leaders in East Austin and the African American community and to have a discussion. But unfortunately, I wasn't surprised, but I left rather disheartened. It seemed like the discourse was controlled. And everyone that got on stage, except for the gentleman from the Nation of Islam, their solution that they offered was, first of all, don't run from the police. Because if you're familiar with the story, Larry Gene Jackson was killed recently, shot in the back of the neck, He was not suspected of a crime. He walked up to a bank that was under investigation for a robbery that just occurred, and the police came and started questioning him, and he took off. He wasn't being detained, so legally he had the right to leave unless he was being detained and suspected of some sort of criminal activity. Chase ensued. Detective Kleinert went so far as to occupy a vehicle of people say civilian, but police officers are civilians too, of a resident of Austin, a non-police officer. He occupied his vehicle and went and chased this man down and ended up killing him, shooting him in the back of the neck. Apparently they're saying it's an accident, but it seems pretty hard to accidentally shoot someone in the back of the neck. So the first thing the bit of advice that came out was don't run from the police, which I think fails to really recognize what's going on. We ought to be able to interact with the police just like if it was a private criminal that was coming up and harassing us. We should be able to run from them just like we're running from men that have the firearms on their side and a badge on their chest. Another solution that was offered, all the solutions that were offered were, let's go back to the system. Let the process work itself out. Internal Affairs is investigating it. The Office of the Police monitors on it. The district attorney's potentially looking for a criminal investigation. People are lobbying the city council to throw out the police chief. We could change the state law. We could change the federal law. That's what the only solutions that I heard. And I quickly want to go over some of the problems with these solutions because I've experienced them personally firsthand. Anytime something goes wrong, they say, go to Internal Affairs. Well, the Internal Affairs is ran by Austin Police Department, so it's like the fox guarding the hen house, or it's like depending on a 4-year-old, a 4th grader to grade their own tests, you know. You got to keep a watchful eye. They got the thin blue line, which they're going to look out for their own crew, no matter the cost, even if it means covering up murder, which happens all the time here in Austin. They also say, well, the Internal Affairs Office is overseen by the Offices of the Police Monitor. The Office of the Police Monitor is part of the union contract with the city and the police department, so it's hard to find justice in that avenue. Additionally, they say, well, if not the Office of the Police Monitor, then go to the city council. Well, the mayor gets tens of thousands of dollars in donations from the police union, so he's not going to shake up the status quo. When it comes to the district attorney's office, it's the same racket. The good old boy network is alive and well with the district attorney and the police officers and the law enforcement. The state legislature doesn't want to shake up the status quo. They get millions of dollars from the police unions across the state. And the federal government, at the same time, the Department of Justice, we can't rely on them to solve the same problem that we're facing here because all of these institutions are part of the same institution that's causing the problem. They're all part of the state, that monopoly institution which can force people to do things against their will. And from what I've found, and based on my research, those in positions of power, their main concern is to preserve the status quo. And so what I'm calling on people to do is to abandon these institutions, to not rely on external sources in order to bring about justice and accountability and to create peaceful streets, to work together within our community to do just that. And I have a vision for the Peaceful Streets Project, Peaceful Streets Project Phase 2. Part of the mission is to protect and serve each other. I'd like to see neighborhoods become peaceful streets and put up signs and say, our block is a peaceful street. We take care of one another ourselves, and police officers are no longer welcome on our peaceful streets because police officers speak the language of violence. And we're not going to speak that language. We're going to communicate. We're going to use reason. We're going to use persuasion rather than coercion. So I think that's an important step, and we can all take those steps in our daily lives. The first thing you could do is not call 911, try to rely on these problems yourself within your community. Second thing you could do is build networks within your communities of like-minded individuals and let each other know, if you got my back, I'll get your back. And I want everyone to check out what's here in their packets. There's something that we started last year. It's called the Lone Star Liberty Bell. It's a messaging and alert system. And essentially the way that it works is you call the number 512-34-UNITE, 512-348-6483. You leave a message. That message is then sent out to everyone that's subscribed on the network. And if you want to subscribe on the network, you can subscribe at LoneStarLibertyBell.com. Again, there's a package in here. Essentially, if you see a speed trap, this is what it most often gets used for, call it in. Then people on their way to work will know that there's a police officer speed trapping. If you get pulled over, call it in. If there's people in the area, we'll dispatch a camera to come support you. If there's police harassing people in your community or beating someone down, or if you're at a protest and the cops are about to crack down, call the Lone Star Liberty Bell. It's just one of many tools that we're developing so we can keep the peace without the police. So I'm just about out of time. I'm already out of time. So I just want to, again, reiterate that message. Me personally, I've gone through the political channels, and it's nothing more than banging my head against the wall is what it came down to. Even the minor change that we managed to change in the time it took to do that, the system had already grown and the state had already grown more intrusive, and there was zero accountability. So I'm calling on each and every one of you to find it upon yourself, to take it upon yourself, to stand up for your rights, to know your rights, and to stand up for each other's rights. And hopefully one day we can run the police out of Austin altogether. I think there is no need for municipal police departments. I think if the people unite together, we're perfectly capable of taking care of ourselves. So that's my message. Last thing, there's strength in numbers, there's strength in unity, and there's strength in truth. And as a movement, we have all three of those things on our side. So all we got to do is stand up, and there's no holding us down. Thank you.